My name is Sabrina Welles. I'm 27 years old, and what I'm about to share with you is a true horror story that still makes it hard for me to close my eyes at night. I moved into a countryside guest house thinking I'd finally found peace after losing my father, but what I found instead was a staircase that whispered, a house that cried, and a presence that fed on grief. If you believe old houses can breathe, mourn, and remember, please like, subscribe, and share this story. This story is written and edited by Dark Lifeside Diaries. I found the guest house on a last-minute listing site, cheap, cozy, nestled at the edge of a fog-heavy forest near Vermont. After my dad's sudden death, I needed quiet. I needed time away from noise, people, and memories that hurt. The guest house was old, but the listing boasted charm and healing solitude. When I arrived, the landlord, a man in his 60s named Mr. Halberg, handed me the key without making eye contact. "You're in the main unit upstairs," he said, then added almost reluctantly, "Be careful on the third step." I smiled, assuming it was just uneven or creaky, but he didn't smile back. "That's where she starts," he said under his breath before walking off. I should have asked what he meant, but I was too tired, too heavy with grief to care. The house smelled of lavender and something faintly metallic like dried blood and dust. As I climbed the stairs to my unit, the third step let out a low, watery moan, not wood creaking, but something that sounded sad, almost like a sob. I stopped, 1 foot suspended meter, then it went silent. I tried it again. Nothing, maybe my ears were playing "Don't Step There." That's where he pushed me. I turned around in panic, but no one was there. I ran back to my room, locked the door, and sat in bed until sunrise. I told myself maybe it was my grief. Maybe I imagined it until the next morning when I found a long black hair curled around my sock. I have short blonde hair. I live alone, and the landlord, he didn't say good morning when I passed him in the hall. He just whispered, "It's starting early with you." I should have left that day, but I didn't. He wanted answers, and she, whoever she was, had waited long enough to tell her story. The second night, I couldn't sleep. Not because of noise, but because of the waiting. I lay there in the dark, clutching my pillow, staring at the ceiling while the house breathed beneath me. It's strange how buildings breathe, not in the literal sense, but in the way they settle, whisper, shift. But the house wasn't settling. It was awakening, and something in it knew I was listening. Now around 3:10 a.m., the crying started again, louder this time, not muffled, not far. It came from directly outside my door, right above the third step, and then the same voice, trembling but urgent. He watched, he didn't stop it. He wanted to hear me break. I froze, goosebumps spread like wildfire across my arms. I reached for my phone, but it was dead, fully charged when I went to bed, now black. I crept to the door and opened it slowly. The hallway light was off, but the staircase, it glowed faintly, a pale blue like moonlight underwater, and at the bottom of the steps was a girl, or what was left of one. She wore a white nightgown stained at the hem, her long black hair tangled over her face, and her limbs twisted in a way that screamed broken, not bent, and she was looking up at me, but her eyes were eyes. They were voids deep, sunken, like something had pulled the life out of them 100 years ago and sealed it in silence. Then she crawled, not walked, crawled up the stairs. Every step she touched let out a soft sob. When she reached the third step, she paused, looked directly at me. "He made me jump," she whispered, "but the house made me stay." I slammed the door and screamed, but no one came, not the landlord, not another guest, just me and my pulse and the echo of a dead girl who didn't want to be forgotten. The next morning, I confronted Mr. Halberg. I demanded answers. He didn't even pretend to act surprised. "You've seen her," he said, lighting a cigarette with shaking fingers. "Who is she?" I asked. He hesitated. "Her name was Margaret. Ellyn, 16, stayed here with her mother in the 1970s. No father, mother was sick, died in the downstairs room. After that, Margaret changed." "Changed how?" She said the stairs whispered to her, sighed. The third one cried because it missed her mother. I didn't understand. I said, "So she jumped," he said flatly, "right from the top of that staircase. Broke her neck, but not before she screamed, 'He's here, Mama, he's watching me again.'" I stared at him. "He? Who's he?" He shook his head. "We never found out. No records, no suspects, just rumors." "Rumors like what?" He looked away. "That the house gave her to him, that she wasn't the first. That night I packed. I couldn't take another moment in that place, but the house had other plans at exactly 3:13 a.m. Just as I zipped my bag, all the lights died, not flickered, died. The windows slammed shut. The door wouldn't budge, and I heard the staircase groan, then weep, then Laffy's laugh. Sound of a man, deep, dry, mocking, like he hadn't spoken in decades and was enjoying it now. She begged. The voice said, but she was always meant to fall. I backed into the bathroom. It was the only room with no window. I stared at my reflection, and behind me, I saw a man with a long face, black hat and a smile stitched across his cheeks, not with thread but with shadows. He held something in his hand, not a knife, not a rope-based step, the third one rotten wet, blood-stained, and then he opened his mouth. From it poured the sound of Margaret's scream over and over until the mirror cracked. I woke up on the floor hours later, shaking the bathroom door wide open. The house was silent again, too silent. I looked out the hallway window and saw Mr. Halbrook leaving in a hurry, suitcase in hand, never glancing back. Had seen something too, or maybe he finally realized. The house never let people leave. Not really, it just waited for the next grief-stricken girl. Next listener, the next witness, and now it had me. I didn't leave the house, I couldn't not. Because I didn't try, but because something had started wrapping itself around me, a presence that twisted the air, locked the doors, and whispered through the floorboards. I wasn't just hearing things anymore, I was seeing them, smelling them, living them. Morning after I saw him, the shadow-faced man with stitched darkness where lips should be, I found something under my bed that hadn't been there before. A small rotting notebook. Its cover had faded completely, but inside the pages were filled with slanted, frantic handwriting. The crying won't stop. He stands on my third stair every night. He waits until the lights go out. Mama says it's grief. I think it's him. I think he wants me to fall again. My hands shook. The signature at the back confirmed it. Margaret. Ellyn. I ran back down the stairs, skipping the third step entirely, and went straight to the landlord's quarters. Gone. His apartment was abandoned, half-packed drawers open, dishes still in the sink he'd left just like that, and as I turned to leave, I saw something scribbled on the back of the door in black ink. Don't go into Margaret's room, it's not hers anymore. I didn't listen, I should have, but that night, around 3 a.m., something new happened. The crying stopped, the air changed, not heavy anymore, hollow too, still like the house had stopped breathing, and that silence was worse than the crying. I grabbed a flashlight, a key I'd found in the landlord's desk, and I went looking. There were 6 guest rooms in the house. Only 5 were in use. One door had remained locked since I moved in, the last on the left. The wood was swollen. The paint cracked like it hadn't been opened in years. The key fit perfectly. When I opened it, the smell hit me first. Mildew, old perfume, and decay. Room was small, the wallpaper shredded by fingernails, and in the corner stood a child's rocking chair, slowly moving though no one sat in it. On the wall above the bed was carved a sentence, each word shaky and uneven. He waits for the broken ones. I was too loud, so he made me fall. The closet door creaked open on its own, and I should have run, but I looked inside. Was not clothing, not storage inside, was a hole, a perfect round tunnel dug straight into the wall, leading into the darkness between the rooms. Crawling out of it was a hand, thin gray and thin, a voice, not Margaret's, not mine, something else. She fell, but I stayed. Now I wear her skin. The hand gripped the edge of the closet, and then I saw his face again, closer than ever. Not a ghost, not a man, but something older, rotten teeth sharpened by time and hunger. His stitched mouth opened, and from it came Margaret's voice, screaming, "He's still here. He never left." I slammed the closet shut and barricaded the door, but the walls began to bleed, not red, but black like ink mixed with shadows, and all over the room new words appeared in smeared handprints. Step 3, step 3, step 3, step 3, over and over until they blurred together into a single endless moan coming from the floor. The floor cried, and I understood. He wasn't haunting the house. He was part of it. By morning, Margaret's room had sealed shut again. The hallway was clean, no trace of blood, no black ink, no voice, just silence. But now I knew the house had a mouth, and the third step, that was its tongue. I didn't sleep anymore, not because I couldn't, but because I was afraid if I closed my eyes, I'd wake up already falling, that sickening free fall. Margaret must have felt that final drop from the top of the staircase that didn't end in death, it ended in possession. Because Margaret didn't die alone, she died while the house watched, and now it was watching me. That night, everything was quiet. Too quiet. I sat in bed with the journal clutched in my hands. The page I had never read, the one at the very end, was soaked with something sticky and dry. I peeled it apart and found the last entry. He told me to jump again tonight, but this time I think he'll use someone else's legs. If you're reading this, he's already inside. Youth stares, remember your weight. The third one is listening. At exactly 3:13 a.m., the room temperature dropped. The light flickered once, then blew out, and outside my door, I heard the most horrifying sound yet, footsteps, but not toward my door, up and down the stairs. Someone or something was pacing, and each time it hit the third step, the sound changed. Not wood, not crying, not a creak, a heartbeat. Mine. I don't know what made me open the door. Maybe it was exhaustion, maybe it was madness. But I did, and there she was, Margaret, standing, now pale face bruised from the fall that never healed. Eyes hollow but not empty, she raised one hand and pointed at the top of the staircase, and for the first time I saw it, him. He didn't walk, he didn't float. He shifted like darkness, pretending to have a shape, long face, mouth gaping with unseen teeth, like a ripped open envelope spilling secrets too loud to be written. He opened his arms and said, "Let me finish what she started." I took a step back, but the house didn't let me retreat. The floor pushed forward, the walls bent slightly. Just enough the air behind me turned solid, like hands on my back. I screamed. Margaret screamed too, but not in pain and warning. "It's not the fall that kills you," she said. "It's forgetting you're already broken." I don't know how I survived what happened next. All I know is the stair beneath my foot, the third one, began to split open like a mouth wide, wet, crying again, but this time it was my voice inside it, sobbing, begging, and in that moment something in me snapped, not from fear, from anger. I ran back to the kitchen, found a box of matches, soaked, the journal, the hair, the floor around the third step, and lighter fluid I'd found earlier in the utility closet. Moment the flame touched the page, the house screamed, walls rippled. Margaret cried out, "Thank you," and the man with the stitched mouth? He didn't scream, he just burned silently, staring at me until he crumbled into ash, like he'd finally found someone who didn't fear him, only pitied him. By morning, the house was gone, reduced to blackened timber and stone. The police said the fire was electrical, but I know better. I burned the memory out. I freed Margaret, but I kept the journal's final page, the only part that didn't burn. It reads, "Some homes are built with love, others are built to feed. If the floor ever cries beneath your step, you're not walking alone. I never walk upstairs without counting now, and if the third one weeps, I skip it, and I never ever look behind me, because somewhere in some forgotten hallway, in some broken staircase in someone's childhood home, he's still waiting, and maybe this time he'll use your legs." Thanks for staying with me through the third stair cries at night. If this story chilled your bones, disturbed your thoughts, or made you count your steps tonight, please like, subscribe, and share with others who walk carefully in the dark. This story is written and edited by Dark Lifeside Diaries.